The Queen of England said nothing for 5 days. The nation that had defined itself by deference to the crown for 1,000 years was about to tell her that wasn't good enough. On the morning of August 31st, 1997, Britain woke to the news that Diana was dead. Within hours, people began arriving at Kensington Palace. They came with flowers, at first dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. By the end of the first day, the gates of Kensington Palace were buried under a sea of cellophane-wrapped bouquets, handwritten notes, teddy bears, photographs, and candles. The floral tributes would eventually stretch for 5 feet deep and a mile long. And at Buckingham Palace, nothing. No statement from the Queen, no flag at half-mast. The public didn't care about protocol. They cared that their princess was dead and the palace was silent. The tabloids turned. Where is our Queen? Where is her flag? Show us you care. It took 5 days. On September 5th, the eve of Diana's funeral, Queen Elizabeth II did something she had never done before in 45 years on the throne. She bowed to public pressure. She returned to London. She stood at the gates of Buckingham Palace and looked at the flowers. A Union Jack was raised to half-mast over the palace, the first time a flag other than the royal standard had flown there. And that evening, the Queen made a live television address to the nation. Since last Sunday's dreadful news, the Queen said, "We have all been trying in our different ways to cope." She called Diana an exceptional and gifted human being. She spoke as a grandmother. It was enough, barely. But something had shifted permanently in the relationship between the British people and their monarchy. September 6th, 1997. The funeral, Westminster Abbey. 2,000 people inside the church, 1 million lining the streets of London, 2.5 billion watching on television worldwide, the largest TV audience in human history at that time. The coffin was carried on a gun carriage through streets lined with weeping strangers. William and Harry walked behind it. William was 15, Harry was 12. They walked in silence, in suits, behind their mother's body, for the entire world to see. Harry would later say it was something no child should have been asked to do. Inside Westminster Abbey, Diana's brother Charles, the 9th Earl Spencer, delivered a eulogy that landed like a blade. She needed no royal title to continue to generate her particular brand of magic, he said. The Queen was sitting 10 feet away. It was a direct rebuke. Spencer pledged that Diana's blood family would protect William and Harry and ensure they were not simply immersed by duty and tradition. Outside the Abbey, the crowd listening on loudspeakers began to applaud. The applause traveled through the open doors and into the church. For the first time in the history of Westminster Abbey, a congregation heard the roar of a crowd outside, applauding a eulogy that was, in every meaningful way, an indictment of the family sitting in the front pew. Diana was buried on a small island in the middle of a lake on the Althorpe estate. Away from the public, away from the palace, away from the cameras, finally. What she left behind was not just grief, it was transformation. Her handshake with an AIDS patient in 1987 changed how the world understood HIV. Her landmine campaign directly contributed to the Ottawa Treaty, an international ban on anti-personnel mines signed 4 months after her death. William grew up to marry a commoner. Harry left the institution entirely, echoing his mother's war with the palace in ways impossible to ignore. And then there is the final chapter. Mohammed Al-Fayed died on August 30th, 2023, the 26th anniversary of the day Diana and Dodi arrived in Paris. Within weeks, over 200 women came forward accusing him of rape and sexual assault. The man who had spent 26 years casting himself as a champion of justice had himself been a predator on an industrial scale. Diana's legacy is not the conspiracy theories. It is not the tunnel. Her legacy is the handshake, the minefield, the millions of people who saw in her not a princess, but a person. She was 36 when she died. She had been free, truly free, for less than a year. She needed no royal title to generate her particular brand of magic. She never did.